Thank you for clicking on my video. This is part 1 of my Genealogy, Afro Aboriginal Hidden in Plain Sight series. I want to begin with the Bible verses from the KJV in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12 through 13. It states, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places." I did not expect to get a full-on history lesson, as it was one of my least favorite subjects, and I don't need to explain why. Along my genealogy journey, I came across my 12th great-grandfather. His name is William Goodman. He was born 1650 during the English Civil Wars, which ended around 1746. I was never taught about those wars, or the Glorious Revolution, or the Jacobite Wars. However, I'm mentioning them because they all were melanated versus non-melanated people fighting. We were taught that the colonizers were attempting to flee religious persecution, which is very true. However, may I also add, quote, "My skin is my sin," unquote, played a major factor in the heavy migration of melanated people into colonial America. One of William Goodman's descendants, who actually shared his name, wrote a book titled The Social History of Great Britain during the Reigns of the Stuarts, beginning with the 17th century, being the period of settling the United States, with numerous engravings. It was published in New York in 1847. It can be found in the digital collection of the Library of Congress. It was an interesting read. In reading a few paragraphs of the prefix, it was as if the author anticipated that a future descendant would read it. This excerpt was quite fitting for this 3-part video series. This is the preface. Quote, "It is characteristic of the noblest natures and the finest imagination to love to explore the vestiges of antiquity," unquote, Eustace. "The desire of possessing some knowledge of the events that have preceded us, of the places of our nativity, or which contain the sepulchres of our forefathers, seems to be one of the most universal feelings of our nature." The author of The Last Days of Pompeii beautifully writes, quote, "We love to feel within us the bond which unites the most distant eras. Men, nations, customs perish. The affections are immortal. They are the sympathies which unite the ceaseless generations, the past lives. When we look upon its emotions, it lives in our own. It is the magician's gift that revives the dead and animates the dust of forgotten graves." This is not the author's skill. It is in the heart of the reader. I am showing you this line starting with my grandparents on my mom's side, starting with Lucy, and showing the spouses so you can get acquainted with the last names as we move forward. There are many surnames with rich heritage and history. I have been blessed to have found pictures and records that help me uncover my strong roots and strengthen my spirit. Many of us were told we were from Africa and forced to watch Shaka Zulu and Alex Haley's Roots. I ain't gonna lie, I couldn't stand those movies. And Chicken George, need I say more? It was horrible, horrible. I definitely had to unlearn to relearn. William Goodman of Surrey, Nansemond, Isle of Wight counties, Virginia, was prominent, and he was a patriarch of many Goodman lines throughout the South. The Goodman surname is Sephardic and the ancestors are recognized for trading with the Aboriginal population prior to the first colonization at Roanoke, and they had family ties with the Aboriginals through marriage. Many descendants are prominent figures, and it was stated that my 12th great-grandfather was driven from the colony by the Church of England in 1695 and had to reside in North Carolina. What you see before you is a marriage record, and marriage date is September 30th, 1900, and it is a descendant which shares the same name as William Goodman, of course. And I wanted to show you that he is recorded on this record as colored. Because of the principalities, they wanted my ancestor to be remembered as a non-melanated man. But I'm just showing you this because we remained melanated, and many of us still do. But there's another historical figure that shares that Goodman surname. I know many of you may have seen these images before. They're quite popular. The gentleman on the left is Jonathan Goodman, and the picture on the right is Jonathan's sister and brother-in-law. Jonathan identified as a Croatan. He did not want to be classified as Negro, colored, or black. In this quote, the principality stated, Jonathan Goodman is the son of the above Timothy Goodman, and we are sure, judging from his general appearance, that he is at least 3/4 Indian, with only 1/4 white. Now, even when you get that book, I didn't see a picture of Timothy Goodman. And I also noticed when looking at the black or white photo, and when they have that white glow like that, it's because it was brightened up intentionally. So Enos Jacobs next to Matilda, he was recorded as a mulatto, but I believe he had he had melanin to him. He's probably light skinned, tawny. So just looking at his hands, he was more than likely a tawny complexion, light skin. Let's look into the household of Jonathan's father, Timothy Goodman. On this 1850 Sampson County census, he and his wife Nancy have 7 kids. I can only find pictures of Jonathan and Matilda, as previously shown. So let's see. We have Timothy Goodman, 43, and his occupation turpentiner. Nancy, 37, John, 17, Lofton, 16, both laborers. Jonathan, 10, Anna, 9, Reuben, 6, Timothy, 3, and Matilda, 6 months, and all classified as mulattoes. A quick overview of Jonathan's family through Family Search. He may have had more children with his other wife, but I noticed on Family Search there are a lot of incomplete trees. Just wanted you to get a glance. Many of fair-skinned descendants are now known as Lumbies in North Carolina, but that's a whole nother video. Just wanted you to take a quick look-see. This is Jonathan's death certificate, and I find it alarming. As you see, the principalities renamed him and his parents. He's showing up as Jonathan Goodwin, and as Timothy Goodwin, and Nancy Rivers. And actually, she's Nancy Revel. That was her maiden name. Or Revel. Might not be saying that right. Anywho, one can't help but wonder if it was deliberately done to disassociate him from the Goodman name, or was it simply an error? The story about the lost colony of Roanoke has been told in so many different ways. The colonists were said to disappear or blend in with the tribe. Facts: the first settlement was in 1584 in Hatteras, Roanoke, right? And the Goodman lineage was associated with the early settlement travels to Roanoke. Jonathan Goodman identified as Croatan, and that is the name of the tribe carved into the tree. And I'm not trying to throw any conjecture in here. So I'm just simply stating what my brother once told me. The best place to hide something is in plain sight.